The Portland Trailblazers pulling 2 second-round picks out of a deal as a straight player-for-player swap between the Boston Celtics and the Portland Trailblazers for Anfernee Simons and Jrue Holiday. Again, according to a league source, that was due to a medical evaluation. I was told that it is nothing serious, and I have not heard anything about any potential surgeries or anything keeping him out of camp or playing or anything like that. They downplayed all that, and if they come back and all of a sudden Jrue ends up needing a surgery, then, well, we can put him on a skewer and cook him for that. But I think this was more of a situation where the Blazers saw a situation where they could have a little bit of leverage and go, you know what? No, we're not going to do that. Now, beyond that, Anfernee Simons is officially a Boston Celtic. If you've seen some IG photos and stuff like that or clips, he's been in town getting ready to move, but he was doing some workouts here with his trainer, Phil Beckner. I believe he was at Portland State the other day. But where's he going to live? Because Brian Windhorst of ESPN on the Hoop Collective podcast said that, and I quote, this is from Windhorst on the Hoop Collective, "I've talked to other teams who have said they're actively trying to trade Anfernee Simons." The they there being the Boston Celtics. Whether they can or not is another thing. Now, the Celtics are currently roughly $300,000 over the second apron. They need to get under that line, one way or the other. Now, they could trade Nehemias Queta or J.D. Davison or Jordan Walsh, guys who are making basically less than $2.5 million or less for a second-round pick. Send money out, take nothing back. Or they can move somebody else. I don't think they're moving Jason Tatum. I don't think they're moving Jaylen Brown. And I don't believe they're moving Derek White. Now, teams have called a lot about Derek White. A lot. Because Derek White is owed $28 million this year, 30.3, 32.5. And then I believe he has a player option. Yeah, player option in his last year in 28-29 of $34.8 million. Derek White, very good. Winning player. Two-way, can fit on literally any team. After that, Ant is their most expensive salary. So they've got $54 million in Tatum, $53 in Brown, $28 in Derek, and $27.7 in Anfernee. And Anfernee is an expiring contract. After that, Sam Hauser at 10, George Niang at 8.2. You see the salary slotting go way down. This is what we were talking about the other day. The middle class of the NBA, gone. Absolutely gone. Will the Celtics move Anfernee Simons? And if they do, what do they get for them? And what does that look like if you're the Trailblazers? Because the passage for the transaction of Jrue for Ant, or Ant for Jrue, however you want to put it, there's certainly a swath of Blazers fans like, I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. You got to clear the way for Scoot, blah, blah, blah. Look, if Scoot Henderson had shown enough to where you're clearing the deck for him, cool. He has not yet shown that. He improved drastically, but the bar was the floor. And selfishly, I hope Scoot turns into an absolute all-star. I have my questions about him. It's not about his shooting. It's mostly about his finishing and consistency. But if he turns into a dude, it's not going to be a problem. Because when a dude is a dude, they're going to play. Same thing for Shaedon Sharpe, same thing for Donovan Clingan. Like this is what I mentioned the other day is, as of right now, there are two guys on the team you know are dudes. Toumani Camara and Deni Avdija. But if the Celtics find a way to trade Anfernee Simons for what is clearly better value than Jrue Holiday, there's probably going to be some questions.
Yeah.
But will they actually be able to pull that off? Because if you're sitting here saying that, quote unquote, the only thing they got for Anfernee Simons is Jrue Holiday, who's a very good player, older, yes.
Yeah.
But what's the bar for you? What's going to piss you off if the Celtics trade Anfernee Simons for X?
Oh, geez. Victor Wembanyama?
Well, yeah.
Look, it's...
because you know that's what's going to come.
Yes.
If the Celtics move Anfernee Simons for whatever,
I guess
it's the transitive property of why didn't the Blazers get that?
Look, this is going to be a very this response many people won't like, but I'm going to sound like the Supreme Court, and I'll know it when I see it.
Okay.
The Supreme Court's
pornography.
version
pornography.
I know it when I'll see it.
Okay, that's fair. I'm not mad at that. I'm asking you. Like, I think that's a fair answer. Because like that's the thing when we're talking about like which of those 4 teams in the Western Conference whose future you want.
Mm-hmm.
The Blazers go, and this is not just it's true of the Blazers. This is true of any transaction.
Yeah.
For I'll go with a past Blazers transaction that I thought, not that I liked, but I understood it. And not that, that if you didn't like it, you didn't understand it. It's more of like, okay, I get what they're trying to do here.
Mm-hmm.
When Joe Cronin took over, he traded Norman Powell and Robert Covington to the Clippers for what was not much.
Right.
But the goal in that transaction, and this has been verified via league sources, as it were, was to get off the money.
Yeah.
That was the goal. Norm is on the last year right now of the deal Neil signed him to.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, well, look at Norm last year. I'm like, so if you had Norm on this team at $25 million, that's another guy in front of Scoot and Shaden.
Yeah. Yeah.
So keep that in your head when you're thinking about that. The goal of the Blazers front office at that point in time was to unbleep the books because the books were a mess. It didn't make any sense what they had going forward. And look at the Blazers books now. We're talking about their books being basically clear after this year.
Okay.
Now, you have Drew and Jeremy. You got to figure that stuff out. If Drew's the only guy on there who's the older guy that you're paying, that makes sense. If you're paying both those guys and they're both here for multiple years, that's more prohibitive. And that doesn't make sense. But if they do the thing where they extend Tumani or Shaden or Scoot pops and they extend those guys, you can't do that if you've got Norm's money on the books.
Right.
And it was like, well, why didn't they there's a note out there about Danny Ainge being frustrated with the Jazz because he would have given up a first-round pick for Norm. Number one, it wasn't a great first-round pick. Number two, he was also going to send $20+ million back that was going to be on the Blazers' books. You have to look at the transaction for what the goal is a team is trying to accomplish. Take the Utah Jazz, the Ainge, as it were. They just sent out John Collins for nothing.
Yeah.
Kevin Love, Kyle Anderson, and a second-round pick. John Collins is a good player.
Yeah.
But their goal was, we want books clear, and we want the space clear, because Love's almost certainly going to get bought out, and the only player they're going to keep here is Kyle Anderson. It's like, let's have an adult in the room. Slow-mo's an adult. He's a playmaker. He's not going to stop the ball. He's not going to jack up a bunch of shots. He's going to make things a little bit easier for some guys. Like, that makes sense.
Yes.
But the Heat were like, you know what? We like Norman Powell. We'll take him for basically free. We're giving up Kevin Love and Kyle Anderson in a second-round pick? Sure. But the goal for the Heat was, it's a one-year deal. It's expiring, and he's a good player. So we'll take him. So you have to understand what the transactions are that are or the transaction as a whole.
Right.
What is the goal that is trying to be accomplished?
Yeah.
And now you can argue with
the forest through the trees.
You can argue with the goal, whether or not that should be or shouldn't be the goal in any transaction. But if you're just looking at, the NBA 2K trade of, well, this player's better.
Right.
Well, that's not always the case, because a good player may not mean anything to a team that's not trying to be good, which is what the Jazz have done. They're like, hey, Colin Sexton, you want to go somewhere for free? Cool. Hey, John Collins, see you later, bye. Hey, Jordan Clarkson, see you later, bye. The goal for the Utah Jazz is to suck. Like, they are forecasting the NBA, the Las Vegas win totals for the Utah Jazz. They're saying they're going to be egregiously bad.
Yeah.
The Oklahoma City Thunder were a 14-loss team last year.
Yeah.
The Thunder are likely going to lose less games this year than the Jazz are to win games.
Yeah, that's bananas.
That's how far apart those two swaths are.
Ugh.
So, but you have to understand organizational goals, honestly. But like, Ant's my guy. Like, I've got a relationship with him. I've known him since he was a little kid. In NBA terms, I've watched that guy grow up.
Yep.
I don't want him to get stuck in a crappy situation, but from a basketball standpoint, if he does get moved, I'm interested to see what the hell happens. Like, what does Boston get? What do they prioritize? Where does he end up? How does that all work out? I think it's interesting, at least.